Commander Hyunwoo could not sleep for 3 days. The alien message kept playing in his mind like a broken record. He sat at his workstation on the Earth defense station called Horizon. The station floated in space between Earth and the Moon. It was humanity's first line of defense against unknown threats. The message had come from deep space. Earth's best computers worked day and night to translate it. When they finally cracked the code, the words made everyone's stomach turn cold with fear. Hyunwoo read the translation again and again, hoping he was wrong. The aliens called themselves the Fourth Empire. They had been watching Earth for months. They studied human cities from space. They watched people go to work every day. They saw how humans lived in groups and worked together. But they completely misunderstood what they were seeing. "Captain Lee, you need to see this right now," Hyunwoo called across the control room. His voice was shaking. Captain Miho Lee was a tough man. He had served in Earth's space forces for 20 years. He had seen many dangerous things, but nothing prepared him for what was coming. His weathered face showed years of hard work and difficult decisions. He walked over to Hyunwoo's station with heavy steps. "What is it, Commander?" Captain Lee asked. He could see the worry in Hyunwoo's eyes. "The Fourth Empire's first report about Earth. They are calling us insects, sir." Hyunwoo's hands were shaking as he pointed at the screen. Dr. Eun-ji Park worked at the science station across the room. She was Earth's best expert on alien life forms, even though she had never seen real aliens before. She looked up from her computer when she heard the conversation. Her face went pale. "The language study confirms it," Dr. Park said in a quiet voice. "They have put humanity in the same group as bugs and insects. Their word for us means something like walking termites." Captain Lee's face became hard as stone. "Termites? They think we are termites." "It gets much worse, sir," Hyunwoo continued reading from the alien message. "They have planned something they call pest elimination protocols for our whole solar system. They are not sending their best ships or strongest weapons. They think we will be easy to kill." The alien message talked about humans like they were ants in an ant hill. The Fourth Empire believed that humans all thought the same way. They saw human cities and thought they were like beehives. They watched people go to work and come home, and they thought humans were like worker ants following simple orders. The aliens had no idea that each human was different. They did not understand that humans could think for themselves. They did not know that humans could create new things and solve problems in ways no one had ever tried before. Lieutenant Woo Jin Kim sat at the communication station. He was the youngest officer on the station, but he was very good at his job. Suddenly, all his screens started flashing red warning lights. "Sir, we are detecting huge energy readings at the edge of our solar system," Lieutenant Kim said loudly. "Multiple contacts, all heading toward Earth." Everyone in the control room stopped what they were doing. This was it. The aliens were coming. Dr. Park's fingers moved quickly across her keyboard. She was trying to get more information about the alien ships. "If they think we are just insects in a hive, they have no idea what is coming their way. Humans do not move around like mindless drones. We adapt to new situations. We create new inventions. We fight back when someone threatens us." Captain Lee walked to the big window that looked out into space. He could see Earth in the distance, blue and beautiful. Millions of people lived down there. Families were eating dinner together. Children were playing in parks. Students were studying in schools. Workers were building new things. Artists were creating beautiful music and paintings. The aliens saw all of this and thought it was just insects doing simple tasks. They were so wrong. "Send a message to Earth Command immediately," Captain Lee ordered. "Tell them the exterminators are coming to kill what they think are pests. But they are about to learn what happens when you try to step on the wrong nest." Through the big window, tiny points of light appeared against the black space filled with stars. The alien ships looked small from so far away, but Hyunwoo knew they were huge. Each ship was probably bigger than a city. They carried weapons that could destroy entire planets. But the aliens inside those ships still believed they were coming to kill simple insects. They had no idea they were about to fight against the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Humans had been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. They had learned how to survive in every environment on Earth. They had created weapons, tools, and machines that could do amazing things. The Fourth Empire was about to discover that the insects they planned to exterminate were actually hunters. And these hunters had been waiting their whole lives for a fight like this. As the alien ships got closer to Earth, people all over the planet looked up at the sky. They did not know it yet, but their quiet lives were about to change forever. The greatest test of human survival was beginning. The war between insects and exterminators was about to start. But the exterminators had no idea which side was which. Admiral Dahoon Park stood in the command center of the Earth flagship called Defiance. The ship was the biggest and strongest vessel that humans had ever built. It floated in space near Earth, ready to protect the home planet from the alien invasion. Admiral Park had been chosen to lead Earth's defense because she was the smartest military leader on the planet. The big screen in front of her showed the movement of alien ships. 5 Vorth scout vessels were moving toward Earth in a strange pattern. They spread out in a wide circle like someone spraying bug killer in a room. The aliens were treating Earth's solar system like it was full of ant hills that needed to be destroyed. "They are using standard fumigation patterns," said Commander So-min Choi from her workstation. She was studying how the alien ships moved. "Widespread, low-power plasma bursts. They think they are dealing with ant hills that need to be sprayed." Commander Choi had studied alien military tactics for the past week. The humans had been lucky to capture one small alien probe 7 days ago. The Earth scientists worked day and night to understand how it worked. They learned many secrets about Vorth technology. Lieutenant Hosuk Jang sat at the engineering station with a big smile on his face. He was young but very smart with machines and computers. "Ma'am, the changes to our defense satellites are finished. We have figured out how their shields work from the probe we caught last week. This was the most important discovery. The aliens had powerful shields that protected their ships from most weapons. But humans had studied the captured probe like doctors studying a patient. They found the weak spots in the alien technology. Dr. Eugene Lim was the head of the rapid development team. She was the smartest scientist on Earth when it came to understanding new technology quickly. She nodded with satisfaction as she looked at her computer screens. "Their technology is very advanced, but it does not change. They never expected anyone to adapt their systems so fast. The aliens had made their first big mistake. They built their technology to work the same way every time. It was powerful, but it could not change quickly. Humans were different. When humans found new technology, they immediately started thinking of ways to make it better or use it differently." The first Vorth scout ship moved closer to Luna Station, which was built on Earth's moon. The alien ship sent out a message that Earth's computers translated into human language. The message said, "Starting standard bug-killing protocol." The aliens still believed they were fighting against simple insects. They thought humans were like ants that would run around in panic when attacked. They had no idea that humans were watching their every move and preparing a surprise. Admiral Park picked up the communication device that connected her to all Earth's military forces. "All stations, this is Admiral Park. Show them what happens when insects bite back. Execute Operation Hornet's Nest." Operation Hornet's Nest was the plan that Earth's best military minds had created. They would use the aliens' own weapons against them. The defense satellites around Earth had been changed and improved using alien technology from the captured probe. The modified defense satellites turned toward the alien scout ships. These satellites now had weapons that were based on Vorth technology but improved with human creativity. The satellites opened fire with reconfigured Vorth weapons that shot bright beams of energy through space. The alien scout ships were completely surprised. They expected no real fight from what they thought were simple insects. Instead, they found themselves being attacked by their own technology. The weapons that hit them were familiar but somehow different and more powerful. The first alien ship's shields failed within seconds. The human-improved weapons cut through the alien defenses like a knife through paper. The second ship tried to run away, but it was too slow. The third ship sent out emergency signals, calling for help. Within just a few minutes, 3 of the 5 scout ships were badly damaged and could not fight anymore. Their crews sent out panicked messages to the main Vorth fleet. The messages talked about aggressive insect behavior beyond standard parameters. The aliens could not understand what was happening. In their experience, pest species always acted the same way when attacked. They would run away or die quickly. But humans were fighting back with intelligence and weapons the aliens had never seen before. Captain Taehyung Seo was commanding the cruiser called Resilience. He watched the 2 remaining alien scout ships fly away as fast as they could. He shook his head and laughed. They still do not understand, do they? They think this is just unusual pest behavior. The surviving alien ships sent reports back to their main fleet. But the reports made no sense to the Vorth commanders. They talked about insects using advanced weapons and fighting with intelligence. The Vorth leaders thought their scout crews were confused or lying. Admiral Park watched the alien ships disappear into deep space. She had a cold smile on her face. Let them report back to their commanders. When the main fleet arrives, they will discover that these insects have teeth, claws, and the intelligence to use them. The first battle was over, but Admiral Park knew this was just the beginning. The alien scout ships would tell their leaders what happened, but the leaders would not believe the reports. They would think their scouts had made mistakes or were lying. This was exactly what Admiral Park wanted. When the main alien fleet arrived, they would still think they were fighting against simple insects. They would be completely unprepared for what humans could really do. General Minho Quan stood in a secret war room buried deep under the city of Seoul. The room was filled with bright holographic displays that showed military forces from all over the world. The displays glowed blue and green in the dark underground space. Representatives from every country on Earth appeared as ghostly blue projections around a large table in the center of the room. This was something that had never happened before in human history. For the first time ever, every nation on Earth was working together toward the same goal. Countries that had been enemies for hundreds of years were now sharing their weapons, technology, and soldiers. The alien threat had done what no human leader could ever do. It had united the entire planet. The Vorth main fleet will arrive in 72 hours, announced Colonel Ji Hyan. She was Earth's new unified defense coordinator, chosen because she could speak 7 languages and had studied military strategy from every major country. Our intelligence reports suggest they are bringing enough force to completely destroy what they believe is a primitive insect world. The holographic projections around the table began to speak. Each one represented millions of people and thousands of factories that were now working for Earth's defense. President Sung-Ho Lee of the Korea-Pacific Alliance spoke first. His projection flickered slightly as the signal traveled from his location in Busan. Our industrial complexes have been completely changed. Every factory from Seoul to Sao Paulo is now producing the hybrid weapon systems. Car factories are making spacecraft engines. Electronics companies are building alien weapon copies. Even toy factories are making parts for our defense satellites. The transformation of Earth's industry was amazing to see. In just 1 week, humans had changed their entire planet into a weapon-making machine. Factories that used to make refrigerators were now making armor plating. Companies that made computers were now making targeting systems for space weapons. Dr. Haiwon Kim was leading the reverse engineering division, the team of scientists who studied alien technology and figured out how to copy it. She pressed a button and activated a display that showed the new human Vorth hybrid fighters. These were spacecraft that looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before. We have not just copied their technology, Dr. Kim said with pride in her voice. We have made it better. Human creativity combined with alien engineering has produced something that neither species could achieve alone. The hybrid fighters were beautiful and deadly. They had the smooth, curved shapes of alien spacecraft, but they also had the rough, practical additions that humans always made to their machines. Extra weapons were bolted onto the sides. Additional armor was welded over weak spots. Humans had taken alien perfection and made it more human, which meant making it more dangerous. General Quan nodded as he looked at the displays. What they saw as hive behavior was actually our greatest strength, global cooperation. Every drone they dismissed is actually an independent thinking unit capable of innovation. This was the aliens' biggest mistake. When the Vorth Empire looked at human cities, they saw what looked like insect hives. They saw people going to work at the same time every day, living in similar houses and following similar routines. They thought this meant humans all thought the same way like ants or bees. But humans were the opposite of hive insects. Every single human could think differently. Every person could come up with new ideas. When faced with a problem, humans did not just follow one solution. They created thousands of different solutions and picked the best ones. Commander Jae Min-yu reported from the orbital defense platform high above Earth. His voice came through the speakers clearly, even though he was floating in space hundreds of miles away. All defense grids are synchronized. We are not fighting as separate colonies, we are operating as one coordinated species. The displays around the war room showed the amazing transformation that had happened across the solar system. Asteroid mining ships, which were built to dig rocks out of space, had been turned into attack vessels with powerful weapons. Research stations that used to study the stars were now serving as forward bases for Earth's military. Even civilian transport ships had been fitted with alien weapons. On Earth's moon, construction crews were building massive weapon platforms. On Mars, the small human colony had turned their greenhouses into factories for making ammunition. In the asteroid belt, mining crews were using their equipment to build hidden bases where Earth's fleet could hide and repair. They wanted to exterminate insects, General Quan said. His voice was broadcast to every military commander on Earth and in space through the communication system. Thousands of people heard his words at the same time. Instead, they have awakened something they have never encountered before, a unified humanity that turns every challenge into an opportunity. As General Quan spoke these words, something amazing was happening at the edge of the solar system. The Vorth main fleet was arriving from hyperspace. Hundreds of massive alien warships appeared in flashes of blue light, ready to destroy what they thought was a planet full of helpless insects. But when their sensors scanned the solar system, they found something impossible. Instead of confused insects running in panic, they found a coordinated human swarm that was ready and waiting for them. Every human military unit was in position. Every weapon was loaded and aimed. Every person on Earth was ready to show the aliens the true meaning of adaptive warfare. The real battle was about to begin, and the aliens were about to learn that they had made the biggest mistake in their species' history. Supreme Commander Insu Beck stood on the bridge of the massive alien warship that humans now called Liberation. 6 months ago, this ship had been the pride of the Vorth Empire's fleet. It was their most powerful dreadnought, designed to destroy entire planets that the aliens considered pest problems. Now it was under human control, leading the attack against its former masters. The irony was not lost on Commander Beck. He was using the enemy's own flagship to lead the counterattack against their empire. The ship's original name had been something unpronounceable in the alien language, but the human crew had renamed it Liberation because that was exactly what it was doing, liberating worlds from Vorth control. The bridge looked strange with humans operating alien technology. The control panels were designed for reptilian hands, but human engineers had modified everything to work with human fingers. The chairs were the wrong shape for human bodies, but the crew had learned to adapt. Warning signs were written in alien symbols, but humans had placed their own labels over them. "Status report," Commander Beck ordered. He was watching the tactical display that showed human forces advancing on 3 different Vorth colonial systems at the same time. The display was like a 3-dimensional map of space, with tiny lights representing hundreds of ships moving toward their targets. Commander Haein Yoon worked at the navigation station, which looked like a complex musical instrument made of crystal and metal. She had learned to read alien star charts and operate their navigation computers. "Our strike groups have successfully taken the mining colonies in the Kepler system. The Vorth defenders were completely unprepared for our tactics." The Kepler system had been one of the Vorth Empire's most important mining operations. They had enslaved several primitive alien species to dig valuable metals and crystals from the planets. The Vorth defenders expected a direct attack from space, the way their own military would fight. Instead, human forces had used small ships to land on the planets secretly. They freed the enslaved workers, who then helped the humans attack the Vorth bases from inside. Captain Donghyun Park was leading the engineering teams throughout the human fleet. He looked up from his console with satisfaction written all over his face. "Sir, we have completed modifications to their planetary bombardment systems. What they designed for pest control we have turned into precision liberation tools." The Vorth had built their weapons to destroy entire planets quickly and efficiently. They called it pest control because they saw all other species as insects to be exterminated. But humans had studied these weapons and changed them completely. Instead of destroying planets, the modified weapons could target specific buildings while leaving everything else untouched. Instead of weapons of destruction, they had become tools of liberation. Dr. Jiwon Chai served as the fleet's xenopsychologist, which meant she studied how alien minds worked. She had spent months learning to understand Vorth psychology and communication patterns. She shook her head in amazement as she looked at her computer screens. Their communications intercepts show complete confusion. They keep referring to impossible insect evolution and unprecedented hive coordination. The intercepted alien messages were almost funny to read. Vorth commanders were sending reports to their superiors that made no sense. They talked about insects that had somehow evolved impossible intelligence overnight. They described hive coordination that was more complex than anything in their scientific databases. They could not understand that humans had never been insects at all. Lieutenant Sungmin Oh worked at the communication station, monitoring messages from human fleets across the galaxy. He suddenly looked up with excitement. Admiral Nari Young reports that the human fleet has reached the Vorth Military Academy world. The enemy is requesting parley. The Vorth Military Academy was where they trained their best officers and developed their military strategies. It was one of the most important worlds in their empire. If human forces had reached it, that meant the Vorth Empire was close to complete defeat. The fact that they were requesting parley, a meeting to discuss surrender terms, showed how desperate they had become. Supreme Commander Beck smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the grim smile of someone who had seen too much war and destruction. They are finally starting to understand. We are not the insects they thought they were exterminating. He turned to address his crew, which was a mix of humans and liberated Vorth civilians who had joined the human cause. Many Vorth civilians had been horrified when they learned what their government was doing to other species. When human forces liberated Vorth worlds, Some of the aliens asked to join the fight against their own empire. 4 months they saw us as vermin to be eliminated, Commander Beck said to his mixed crew of humans and aliens. Now their empire crumbles as those same insects use their own weapons, their own ships, their own technology enhanced by human ingenuity, to dismantle everything they built. As he spoke, reports came in from across the galaxy. Vorth forces were surrendering on dozens of worlds. Their military was falling apart as human tactics proved superior to everything they had learned. Vorth colonies were declaring independence and asking for human protection. The mighty empire that had ruled this part of space for thousands of years was collapsing in just 1 year. The transformation was complete and amazing to witness. The hunters had become the hunted. Humanity had evolved from prey to apex predator in the span of a single year. The species that the aliens had dismissed as insects were now the dominant force in the galaxy. Fleet Admiral Sun Young Kim stood on the observation deck of the massive human dreadnought called Ascendant as it slowly entered orbit around Vorth Prime. This was the alien empire's homeworld, the center of their civilization that had ruled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. The planet looked beautiful from space, with swirling blue and green clouds covering continents filled with gleaming alien cities. Behind Admiral Kim's ship, hundreds of other vessels filled the space around the planet like a metal storm cloud. Many of these ships had originally belonged to the Vorth Empire, but now they flew under human command. Human engineers had improved them with better weapons, stronger shields, and faster engines. The alien ships looked the same on the outside, but inside they had been transformed by human creativity and ingenuity. The sight was incredible and terrifying at the same time. A year ago, humans had never traveled beyond their own solar system. Now they commanded the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, orbiting the homeworld of an empire that had once planned to exterminate them like insects. Admiral Kim had been chosen to lead this final mission because she understood both war and peace. She had been a fighter pilot, a ship commander, and a diplomat. She knew when to fight and when to show mercy. Today would test both of these skills. Incoming transmission from the Vorth High Council, reported Commander Byung-ho Ryu from the communications station. His voice was steady, but everyone on the bridge could feel the tension in the air. This moment would decide the fate of two entire species. Put them through, Admiral Kim ordered. She straightened her uniform and prepared to face the leaders of the empire that had tried to destroy humanity. The holographic display in the center of the bridge flickered to life with bright blue light. Slowly, the images of the assembled Vorth leadership appeared like ghosts in the air. They were reptilian creatures with scales instead of skin, long necks, and large yellow eyes. Their features were marked by unmistakable fear and resignation. These were beings who had ruled the galaxy with absolute power, but now they looked like frightened children. The Supreme Chancellor of the Vorth Empire was the oldest and most powerful of their leaders. His scales were faded with age and his voice shook as he spoke. He had been learning human languages for the past month, preparing for this moment. His words came out slowly and carefully in newly learned Korean. Admiral Kim of humanity, the Chancellor began, struggling with the unfamiliar sounds. We were wrong. Gravely wrong. We thought you were insects. Simple. Mindless. We could not comprehend. The old alien's voice trailed off as he searched for words to express the magnitude of their mistake. For their entire history, the Vorth Empire had encountered other species that were either primitive or predictable. They had never met a species like humanity that could adapt and evolve so quickly. Dr. Young Hee Seo was humanity's chief diplomatic officer, chosen for her ability to understand and communicate with alien minds. She stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. You could not comprehend that what you saw as hive behavior was actually cooperation through diversity. What you dismissed as insect adaptation was actually innovation and creativity. Dr. Seo had studied the Vorth Empire for months, learning how they thought and why they had made such a terrible mistake about humanity. The aliens had observed human cities and seen people following daily routines, going to work, coming home, raising families. To the Vorth, this looked like the simple, predictable behavior of social insects. But they had completely misunderstood what they were seeing. Human cooperation was not based on mindless obedience like in an ant colony. It was based on millions of individual minds choosing to work together while still maintaining their ability to think independently and create new solutions to problems. General Taewon Hong commanded the orbital forces surrounding Vorth Prime. His ships could destroy the entire planet within minutes if he gave the order. But he spoke quietly, almost gently as he addressed the defeated alien leaders. You thought you were dealing with termites. Instead, you found apex predators who had spent millennia perfecting warfare against their own species. This was perhaps the most important truth that the Vorth Empire had failed to understand. Humans had not learned to fight by conquering primitive species like the aliens had done. Humans had learned to fight by battling each other for thousands of years. Every strategy, every weapon, every tactic that humans used had been tested and improved through countless wars against other humans who were just as intelligent and creative. When the Vorth Empire attacked humanity, they thought they were fighting against simple insects. Instead, they found themselves facing a species that had been preparing for galactic warfare for their entire evolutionary history without even knowing it. The Vorth Chancellor's voice trembled with fear and shame as he delivered the words that would end his empire's reign over the galaxy. We surrender. Completely. We ask only for mercy for our civilians. The bridge of the Ascendant fell silent as everyone processed these words. The mighty Vorth Empire, which had controlled hundreds of star systems and enslaved dozens of alien species, was surrendering to the humans they had once dismissed as insects. Admiral Kim looked out at the beautiful alien homeworld below and thought about the billions of innocent civilians living there. These were not the leaders who had decided to exterminate humanity. They were families, workers, artists, and children who had simply been born into an empire they did not choose. The moment had come to decide what kind of species humanity would become now that they were the apex predators of the galaxy.